We're at the ballroom of the Novotel Bangkok Planchit Sukhumvit, and I'm with Imtiaz Muqbil of Travel Impact Newswire, and this man is writing a book, and it's called The Greatest Story in Global Tourism History. And we're going to find out more, and you are watching Bangkok Venue Talk. Imtiaz, I hear that with this wealth of information and the incredible archives that you have in tourism, that you're writing a story, could be a book. Can you tell us something about what you're up to?
Okay. David, I'm actually extremely proud to have covered this wonderful country and its great travel and tourism industry over the last 40 years. It's been an amazing experience, particularly to see where the industry has reached today. Now, when I started off covering the industry in 1981, it was the beginning of the 20s. The Tourism Authority of Thailand had been set up in 1960. Thai Airways International had been set up in 1960 as well. So next year we'll be marking the 60th anniversary of both these pillars of the Thai travel and tourism industry. I started covering travel and tourism on a part-time basis in 1980, went full-time in 1981. So this was the start of the 20s. The young days of the travel and tourism were over. The industry was now moving into its youthful stage. And if one looks back over the history of the industry, the 20s, 30s, and the 40s were actually the golden age of the country's tourism industry. This is the time when all the hotels emerged, when many of the airports came of age, when many of the aviation restrictions and impediments were removed, when the visa policies were facilitated. The entire infrastructure of the industry came together. And if one tracks this back, you can see where it has all led to. Today, travel and tourism in Thailand is recognized as one of the sunrise industries with an enormous potential and promise as part of the new Thailand 4.0 philosophy. Now, having said that, if one actually looks at the broader picture of this, cumulatively, the Thai tourism industry is literally like a bestseller. It has overcome enormous obstacles. There's been amazing twists and turns in the plots. There's sex, there's corruption, there's violence, there's conflicts, there's backstabbing. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful story. And I'm very privileged to have actually stayed the course and covered it over this entire period. My passion, I mean, what I call it now, is I refer to this as the greatest story in global tourism history. Because when you compare Thailand to other countries, whether you compare it to Singapore or Indonesia or China or India, you will also see one other very important development. That is that Thailand has been hit by just about every crisis known to mankind. Tsunamis, AIDS, geopolitical crisis, economic issues, haze, SARS, you name it, we have been hit by it. And in spite of that, we still do far better than any of the other regional neighbors that we've got. And in fact, when you compare it to any of the other countries around the world, I would think, it is an incredible feat. It is a phenomenal story. So what I'm trying to do now in compiling all these little bits and pieces of that story together is to try and leave a legacy behind for the future generation. Because where we are today right now, Thailand has been a marketing genius. We have created some of the most amazing campaigns in history. Visit Thailand Year, Amazing Thailand. Amazing campaigns over the years, which is one reason for our success. Having said that, I also say that although we have been a marketing genius, we've also been in many respects a management dunce. That is why you still till today have problems like the Phuket boat accident because of safety and security lapses. So if you combine this entire package of history that we are sitting on, it is an enormous learning experience both for the better and for the worse. So the young generation of today that is emerging needs to learn something from this, because there are good stories and there are bad stories. And really, as we move into an era of turmoil, of conflict globally, going forward, this industry is actually now at the point where it is too big to fail. if there is any crisis in the industry right now, the downstream ripple effect impact in terms of jobs, in terms of economic downturn, will be catastrophic. So it cannot afford to have this deja vu keep occurring with the same regularity that it was in the old days. That has to, in some way, come to a stop, which means having to address some of the root causes of where we see ourselves going forward. What were some of the problems that we had, and what are some of the things, the obstacles and impediments that we need to fix going forward in order to fix the management issues that we have. So this is, if you combine all this, I think it has become a tremendous story. And as a journalist, to use your words, this enormous treasure trove of information that I have kept over the years, I want to convert it into a learning curve. I want the young people to understand it. I want them to understand the efforts made by the outgoing generation, all the battles we fought, all the impediments we overcame, all the obstacles that we confronted, and how we slowly, steadily, actually dealt with them in a very step-by-step basis. There was enormous amounts, true to the traditions of Thai democracy, there was enormous amounts of infighting, conflict. But for me, I mean, that was just part of the fun. This is the beauty of living in this country. This is the beauty of actually just being a part of this society, which we all actually, in many ways, are very proud of. So I'm hoping that at the end of this year, just before the launch of the 60th anniversary celebrations, I will complete this book that will put this entire package together. I'm calling it The Greatest Story in Global Tourism History, 110 factors that shaped travel and tourism in the country going forward. So I'm hoping, God willing, to have it all finished by the end of the year, and we'll see how it goes.
So if there's anyone looking at this video and they're interested in sponsoring your project, are you open to sponsorship, and how do they contact you?
I'm of course open to sponsorship, David, but the key issue here, of course, is that sponsors usually want to have a say in the editorial. They want some kind of influence in that. And I think basically I want to maintain the editorial independence and integrity of this project, which means there is going to be no compromise on that. I will tell the story, warts and all, the way it needs to be told. If there are sponsors that are willing to play by those rules, I would welcome having people involved in this. There is a lot of time and effort and money that goes into something like this, but I think it's personally going to be worth it, even if there are no sponsors. But I think overall, again, to use the word bestseller, which you used actually earlier on, I think it is actually going to be quite a bestseller. So if somebody is looking to become a part of this project in a very positive and constructive way, without compromising my editorial integrity, I would welcome any offers.
Great. And when we look back in Thailand's tourism history over the past 4 decades, 1987 was a game-changing year for Thailand. Why was that, and what happened?
Okay. An extremely good question. I ask this question at forums when I give talks on this subject, and it's shocking to me that nobody actually knows. Nobody actually knows what happened in 1987. 1987 was the year that marked the 60th birthday of His Majesty King Bhumibol, Rama IX. This was the auspicious 5th cycle, and it was the greatest extravaganza of all time. That was the year when Thailand came together. It was a tremendous show of unity. Over the years, since Thailand gained independence, as you know, there have been multiple coups. There have been multiple changes of government. So coming together is not something that this country does very well. 1987 brought the people of this country together like you wouldn't believe. And it was at that time that people like Colonel Somchai, who was then the governor of the Tourism Authority of Thailand, Kun Papansak, who was the general manager of the Erawan Hotel at the time, and a few other industry leaders got together and said, why don't we do a Visit Thailand year to celebrate this great occasion? And that's how it all came together. And because at that time General Prem, the late General Prem, was the Prime Minister, and he had personal support for the travel and tourism industry, and he was also a great supporter of Thai Airways International. That year, Thai Airways International spent more money on marketing than they spent on operations. which was, I mean, an amazing feat at that time. And the ads they produced were just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, they were the most eye-catching ads you've ever seen in your life. So it actually put Thailand on the map, and then it had a global impact. Why? Because when people all around the region suddenly saw, hey, Visit Thailand here has become so successful, then suddenly you saw a Visit Malaysia here popping up, and a Visit Indonesia here popping up, and a Visit Singapore here popping up. And then the mother lode of them all, Visit ASEAN year came up in 1992, when the ASEAN, the bloc, marked the 25th anniversary of its founding. It had a global effect, and it was because of the fact that suddenly the global corporations, you know, the hotel chains, the tour operating companies, and also, hey, there's good business in this, and suddenly all these, you know, the investments began to pour in not just into the hotel industry in Thailand, but all around the world, because it became both from two perspectives. It completely opened up the floodgates. One is from a government policy perspective. An enormous number of measures were taken by governments, particularly here in Thailand, to start giving investment privileges to hotels, for example, to dismantle the visa policies, to address other impediments like transportation infrastructure shortfalls and things like this. So from a government policy perspective, that event actually galvanized support. And once the policy initiative started moving, immediately after that, it became a damn good business proposition. So of course, then the private sector began to pump money into it as well. And the cumulative impact of that then had a ripple effect, because all the regional countries joined the bandwagon. And that's what it was really the greatest story in global tourism history, David. It is absolutely the root of my project. The greatest story in global tourism history actually started with that. It started with Visit Thailand here. It was the mother lode of them all. There'll never be another event like it anywhere else in the world. That is what galvanized and brought this industry up to where it is today.
Imtiaz Muqbil, Travel Impact Newswire, thank you for meeting with us today. And thank you for watching Bangkok Venue Talk.